Greetings, this is Griff Ruby, the Nostalgia Catholic, with yet another Isaac Asimov short story. And this one is again in Isaac Asimov's science fiction magazine. Many of them are, but some of them are not. In fact, some of them still turn up in weird places. But this one is there. And has his name on the cover there because it's not his story in there. So the story in this issue is titled For the Birds. It is not much, just SF condition. Okay, For the Birds, Isaac Asimov, age, here it's 82. Turns out 82 is right next to this inside of these magazines. I hate when they put these here. But at any rate, you have artwork on the first side, which is kind of cool. Shows these people with wings and they're able to fly and around. And again, For the Birds by Isaac Asimov, artist by Vincent Guy Fate. Okay. On the other side of this stupid page, the thing itself begins, including a very short blurb. Here, Dr. Asimov offers another view on how things will be in a space station that's big enough to fly around in. Now, without going further into about the story itself, it is gathered into this collection of his, The Winds of Change. And in here, though the text is, so far as I can tell, identical, what it does have is a little introduction to the story, how it came to be written. Rather unusual story as to how it was written. So, introduction to For the Birds. So, back in 1978, a French fashion magazine wanted to put out an American edition. The American editor asked me to do a science fiction story which featured a clothes designer. Okay. Well, you could take all I know about clothes designing, or about clothes for that matter, and stuff it between the keys of a typewriter without affecting their working in any way. I would expect so. But I was being offered a generous sum, and it was a challenge. In November 1978, therefore, I wrote For the Birds, received my payment, and sat back complacently to experience the novelty of having a story of mine appear in a fashion magazine. Okay. I was dreadfully disappointed, therefore, when it turned out that, for some reason never revealed to me, the French publishers changed their minds. And if any of you wise guys out there have just invented a theory, let me tell you that the editor assured me my story had nothing at all to do with the decision. In any case, I sent the story on to George Skithers, and it appeared in the May 1980 Asimov. George Skithers being the editor that he has. And, this story has to be able to fit for that as well, by the way. So, since I've already revealed that it's in here, and I forgot to mention previous story, except in the little blurb I write, that the last answer story is also in here. So, I won't even say whether the text is the same. So, what exactly is the story? We've got people flying, and there was a mention of a space station big enough to fly around in. Well, you have a clothing designer by the name of Charles Modine, and he is brought to space. He's never bothered with space. I mean, he knew what was going on, but it wasn't anything that had anything to do with him. Now suddenly they want him to come to the space station. And well, I don't know anything about all that. That's okay. We'll know that stuff. Good answer. So he gets out there and says, well, what do you want to do? We want you to try to come up with some kind of a fashion decision that will enable people to have wings that they can fly around. Because in a space station, you generate gravity by spinning it around. And they have a neat scene in this, and I like this. Here you are, you're inside the space station. You're turning at, I don't know, twice a minute or something to get a very Earth-like gravity at the outer edge of the place. But because it is a gravity that's based on spinning the space station Just something as simple as throwing a baseball up into the air and hoping it'll come straight back down to you so you can catch it. It just doesn't work that way. You throw the ball up, and because the space station is traveling, that ball does not just come right back down to you like it would when you're on the planet Earth. It goes sideways, it goes somewhere else because of the Coriolanus effects or something of the rotation. Sort of like why the clouds on Earth and the storm patterns and wind patterns and ocean current patterns are always revolving around. It's kind of the same thing. So you've got this problem, and obviously not on the Earth gravity, but again, you can get a lot closer to the rotational center, and gravity is really low. Now, having gone through all these stories of his, it seems like this ought to be highly reminiscent of something from one of the earlier stories, and in fact, one of the rarities out of this whole series, which was The Man Who Made the 21st Century. One of the things he had done was he was at the moon, and he had invented this sport where people could fly around in wings in the low gravity of the moon. Because it's such a low gravity, it is reasonable to have wings that would be enough for somebody to fly. But when you're in the space station and it's rotating and everything's kind of going around funny and different, it's not the same thing as being a bird or something like that. You need a different kind of flight. And that's all there is to it. And interestingly enough, he does come up with something. I'll give you a hint. It almost gives the whole story away. But in introducing the man, the clothing designer, it turns out, alright, he was not interested in space. He had been born on Earth, and Earth was enough for him. Well, Earth is room enough, ain't it? When he wanted a change of environment, he would turn to the sea. He was an avid and skilled sailor. Well, I don't think they were aware of that particular detail of his life or considered that as being significant if they knew of it. Let's just say it does have some significance in the solution he comes up with. Yes, he does come up with an interesting and the whole worthwhile solution. So it's not exactly the same, but then remember, on board a space station that furthermore is rotating, twice a minute or whatever it is to simulate Earth's gravity and its outermost skin, flying really is not the same thing as flying on Earth. And so you really have to think of propelling yourself through the air in a different way. And that's what he comes up with. So that it's mildly clever. It kind of means the same idea, but it's different. There it is. And actually, I think that's actually a fairly good solution. The old man still got it in him. That's always good to see. Thanks for listening.